the stories, the journey, the wild behind the scenes, and much more. I'm Dave Anthony, and I'm the host of From Garage to Stadiums. Welcome to Garage to Stadiums. Today's story is the story of Queen. Queen is one of the most iconic rock bands in history, known for their dynamic lead singer Freddie Mercury, incredible live performances, and genre-defying music. The band was formed in 1970 in London by an emigre from an Indian family by way of Tanzania named Farrokh Bulsara, who would change his name to Freddie Mercury, and three other individuals from England, Brian May on guitar, Roger Taylor on drums, and eventually John Deacon on bass. One incredible fact you'll learn today is that Queen is one of the few bands where each member wrote songs that became massive hits. Unlike other bands who are popular in certain parts of the world, Queen has a global fan base with over 300 million albums sold. Their greatest hits album, released in 1981, is the best-selling record of all time in the UK. And if you can believe it, approximately 1 in 3 families in the UK own a copy. Queen's ability to adapt, innovate, and inspire has ensured their place as legends in music history. Their fusion of theatricality, musical diversity, and timeless anthems makes them one of rock's greatest bands. Here to discuss Queen today is our guest, Mark Blake. Mark has written about music for over 30 years. He's just recently released Dreams, The Many Lives of Fleetwood Mac, and was a guest on our Story of Fleetwood Mac episode, one of our most downloaded episodes. He's authored several books on today's band, Queen, and Mark is joining us from London in the UK. Hey, Mark, welcome back to Garage to Stadiums.
Pleasure to be back again. Thank you.
We want to start talking about this dynamic band and go a little bit back to understand the backstory of these folks.
Sure.
Can we start with Freddie Mercury? I know that that's quite a past that we need to understand to sort of get a sense for this man.
Yeah, well, I mean, Freddie was born in Zanzibar off the coast of Africa. Was educated at a boarding school in India, so he was sent away by his parents for many years. So he effectively grew up in India and then eventually came back to Zanzibar. There was a revolution and him and his family literally fled the country on a plane with a few suitcases, everything they could carry, and ended up living in West London, not actually very far from Heathrow Airport. So, you know, he's a perfect example of a kind of an immigrant escaping a political situation and washes up in England in like 1964, the era of the Beatles. So there's a lot of interesting things happening.
What was his original name?
Farrokh Bulsara.
Amazing story. Brian May, where did he grow up?
He grew up about 10 minutes from where Freddie Mercury ended up in West London. Very academic. Went to a grammar school boy, as they were called in the 60s in the UK. Brilliant at mathematics and science, and kind of took the same approach to when he started playing the guitar. The famous thing, which we always have to mention, is that he built his first guitar with his dad out of an old fireplace and bits of a bicycle and other sort of junk that they had lying around the house, which I think that's an important thing, because I think Brian has always approached playing guitar as a science. He's always had that kind of forensic attention to detail.
Mm-hmm. And he had a degree that probably is of interest to the audience.
He did. He had a degree. I believe it was in astrophysics. You see, I wrote the book so long ago, I've forgotten already now. So he was, but
was it astronomy or was it
astronomy? Yeah, it was astronomy. He definitely did, because he went to Tenerife, where there was a famous observatory, and did some work there while he was a student. I think if Brian May hadn't been a rock guitarist, he would definitely become an academic. You can really see that in him, I think, as well.
Yeah, brilliant man. The next person we'll talk about, I guess, is Roger Taylor, the drummer.
Yeah, well, Roger grew up in Cornwall, which is sort of near the south coast in the UK. Then he moved up to London, and it was pure luck. A friend of his was at Imperial College, which is where Brian May was studying. Brian was looking for a drummer. He tipped Roger Taylor off about it. So Roger brought a set of bongos, I believe, into his first meeting and talked his way into being in the band. Of course, Roger, a great singer as well, it has to be said. His voice is very important on those early Queen albums. And let's not forget, he looked like a rock star. He really
Hmm.
looked like a rock star right at the beginning.
Yeah, he had the blonde flowing
He had the
mane.
blonde locks. He had it all going on, even when he was at college. So, yeah, I think that played an important part as well, of course.
And he was an intelligent man too. Did he
He was
not
trained,
study
yeah,
dentistry?
studying to be a dentist. He kind of gave it up, and then didn't, and sort of then I think went into biology. But I think the finding I find fascinating. I did once say to him, "How would you be as a dentist? Could you open a mouth and extract a tooth?" And he was very cagey on the subject. I wouldn't have trusted him with the drill or the pliers, so I'm not sure what stage he got to.
Surely this is the first band with an astrophysicist and a dentist
It,
leading the way.
it
That's
is
amazing.
absolutely, and of course, Freddie Mercury was an art student. You know, that was Freddie's forte.
Right. John Deacon. What
Yes,
about him? Where did he
the
grow up? He was a late member to the band, but
the mysterious John Deacon grew up in Leicester, which is in the Midlands, kind of in between London and the North. Electronics and engineering, I think, was his thing. And again, he was a friend of a friend. I think it was through Brian May's girlfriend and sort of various acquaintances. He ended up auditioning. They did have a couple of bass players before him. They never recorded with any of them. One of them lasted for 2 gigs
mm,
before they fired him for showing off too much on stage. So I think John Deacon's quiet demeanor, you know, he's a bit more like John Entwistle was in The Who or Bill Wyman in the Stones. I think that was an asset, considered an asset at the time, and
what is your
very good. He's an engineer, very good at fixing the equipment when it broke. You know,
yeah, he was an engineering type too. This is an incredible math oriented,
it is.
science oriented band.
It
And
is.
then
It's only
the
really
art.
Freddie who's from the art world and was sort of,
Yeah.
you know, who was sort of the interloper, wasn't he? Really, in this band of scientists.